So welcome friends, what if Naruto had secret of picture of Fem Saotome movie. A man was running for his life in a forest. He had speed on his side as well as several techniques to save himself. If he had done something wrong he would have simply surrendered, but he knew his camping in a forest could not be against the law. The men had called him a missing nin, and when he asked what that was, they attacked. They had headband of metallic structure with a zamboli of some sort. He had seen old ninja movies where they hoard those, but nothing really surprised him anymore. So he did what he thought best in a situation where you don't want to kill people. You run until you think of something. He cursed the old woman in her mirror for the 15th time in the same week. She wanted to get it from Hapose and sent her son-in-law to do it for her. The old pervert had already used a teak when Ranma touched the Nabin mirror reconstituted. Now because of the various mistakes made by the pervert. Instead of going to the past, he had ended up in this different world. This chase had a good side to it. Those ninjas with masks had a lot of good techniques that he could duplicate. Another good thing about this world was the loss of his cursed, for which was a good riddance. Most of the techniques the ninjas had used on him were catalogued and he wanted it to end. Tired and hungry he unsealed the Umi Senken, the Sea of 1,000 Fists, and cloaked himself to get to the nearest agglomeration. It was easy to get to the nearest group of homes as the key put out by every individual in a large group was easily located. He ran the way he detected this village or town and found the gates of the Konoha. He uncloaked himself in the forest and approached the gate. "Oi, open up will ya? I've been looking for a place to sleep all night and I want to find a hotel or something like that." "What's your name and where are you from?" replied a female sentry. "I'm Saotome Ranma. I come from nowhere really. I've been in the woods since I could walk. The place I stayed the longest was Narima, and that was the fault of my old man. Can I go up? I'm tired of shouting." "If you." The second Ranma had heard the "if" he had taken to the air and landed in front of the guard. Hikari was a chunin. She had been given guard duty until she could take command of a patrol of genin. She was now confronted to an unknown, a man who bore no identification of a ninja and yet could jump up the wall. He may have been a missing nin or an invader, but she was a female teenager. A young chunin and inexperienced, she had only one thought. "He is cute. I'm a martial artist, a master of a school of Kempo called the Saotome Anything Goes Martial Arts. I have been trained in it since before I could even walk. My pops got me into the woods to train me harder, and I can do things that make whatever those weird ninjas did out there weak when I put my mind into it." "An intruder." She pointed her kunai to his throat and he lifted his hands in the air. "What is it with everyone here? Won't anybody listen? The ninjas chasing you were a patrol of which village? Are you a missing nin? Tell me all you know." A man walked in on the scene. He was older, and from the perspective of Ranma he was one of the strongest auras here. "Hokage-sama." She didn't drop her guard, but it was kind of stupid to keep a man with a kunai when your kunai was missing. "You the mayor or something, old man? I really need to talk to someone who won't attack on sight." "I'm the Hokage, leader of the Konoha. If you and Hikari would follow me I believe we may be able to do something. Give her back her kunai please." "But my guard duty?" The Hokage shrugged and gestured towards the street. "Shift over in 30 seconds, Tenchi is coming this way already, please follow me." Ranma handed the bladed weapon to the kunoichi and followed the old man with his guardian in tow. She was a little miffed at the way he was treating the Hokage. When they got to his house, Ranma related his whole story to the aged leader of the village. "So you are of another world you say?" "Yes, I'm stuck here too unless you know a gizmo that can get me back home." "Sorry." The Hokage shook his head. "I know of no way or items with that power that could do so unless it is a forbidden technique, and even then the user of the technique would most probably die if they tried. Dimensional travel usually ends that way." Ranma sighed and bowed his head. "I better find a place to live then. This place doesn't look that bad, but I believe I may not be that welcomed." He looked at Hikari, who still held a weapon. This time it was a kodachi still in its sheath. "Don't mind Hikari. She takes her task seriously and she probably thinks of herself as my bodyguard right now." The Hokage chuckled. "I believe you may be able to stay here if you live with a ninja of Chunin level for a 6 months of probation. If you wish to become a ninja of the village it could be arranged for you to be tutored in the ways of the village. Then with a little training you'd be up to par with the Chunin." Ranma smiled as the offer appealed to him. If he was to live in this world he would need to get an occupation, and ninja was near enough to martial artist for him to consider it. "I think I'll take your offer. Where am I gonna stay?" "Well, I'm volunteering for this Hokage-sama. I was thinking of sending him with the Uchiha family. Well, he's under your jurisdiction Chunin Akira. He is to be given full freedom and you have to give him an overview of life in Konoha. Until the 6 months are over all of your missions are suspended unless he comes with you." "That won't be a problem. I'm the best and fighting is my game." The Hokage evaluated him a second. He felt the unbelievable chakra in him, very well contained and mastered. It was on a level of mastery only seen in a cage or one of those 3 ninjas. He nodded and looked at Ranma again. The teen had felt the probe and let it be. What you felt was the tip of the iceberg. The story's too long to tell in one shot. I'll come back if y'all want to hear it all. Very well, you may leave and participate in missions as an onlooker. Your training is far above the one of the others until you get full ninja approval. Better than nothing, I suppose. Let's get going, shall we? Yes, follow me. They took to the rooftops for her house. She was one of those orphaned during the attack of the fox demon. She was considered a genius by some, being a chunin so young and getting closer to the junin level. She lived alone and Ranma didn't ask why yet. They spent their time from then on getting to know one another. They spent the entirety of their time together while Ranma learned what little he didn't know, which wasn't very much. In a week he had his ninja certificate and genin level until the next exam, where he'd be given a special solo license since he didn't have a team. Then came the missions, where he didn't take his background role very well. He had the habit of taking every challenge head on and got himself a job as a tutor for chakra control and applications when he wasn't on missions. In the 6 months of his probation and the passage to Chunin level, he became the talk of the village, which also meant Hikari was the talk of the town since he lived with her. He continued training and improving. His reluctances to hit girls was beaten out of him with great force, and she improved as much as he did. They ended up as members of the Anbu, the elite ninjas of the village. A year later, Saotome Ranma and Akira Hikari were married. Another 2 years after that, they had a daughter they called Moegi. It was that same year Ranma encountered the 4-year-old Naruto, who was in the process of pulling a prank. Hey kid. What are you doing? I'm gonna make a hole on this wall and make adults pay to peep on the women bathing here. That's nice. Now what's your name and the ones of your parents? I'm Uzumaki Naruto and I'm all alone. He said it like he was proud, but Ranma could hear the sadness there. That's sad, kid. Your parents must have died in the attack of the 9-tails demon fox. Who takes care of you? You're a little young not to have a caregiver. I have one. She just doesn't care. No one does. They won't acknowledge my existence. Well kid, I acknowledge you, but peeking in the women isn't a good idea. If you want people to know you for yourself, you should become stronger. Maybe the strongest of them all. Naruto was looking at the stranger now. He didn't act the same way the others did, and he didn't turn away from him like he was some sort of deceased. He was acknowledged. How can I do that, mister? There's no shortcut to becoming stronger. You need to work for it. To train and study. Here Ranma shuddered in unison with Naruto. Even if you don't like it. I'll do that, mister. Thanks for the tip. What's your name? I'm Ranma, Saotome Ranma. Well, see ya, Naruto. Take care. Ranma knew the kid followed him. He didn't really mind since he was probably just curious. He got home and kissed his wife, who was on a leave for duty. You were followed, dear. Who did it this time? Asuka? Sakura, or was it one of the young kunoichi of the academy? Well, it's an orphan who was trying to play a prank at the bathhouse. He's called Naruto. His wife froze a second at the name. She sighed and dragged her ignorant husband, who didn't know better, inside and told him about the seal. You mean it's forbidden to talk about it? Yes, the demon is counted inside him, but he doesn't know. He has a caretaker, but they can't stand to stay with him. You don't think like that, do you, dear? I'm sorry, Ranma, if I feel kind of sorry for him. The fox did kill my parents. It's hard not to think that it's the kid, the beast. I'm sorry. Hey, don't worry about this. As long as you don't want to kill him or nothing, it's okay. You know what? He's still around. I'll get him to spend supper with us and you'll see he isn't a demon. For some reason the supper went quite well. Naruto was fascinated with Moegi when she decided she wanted some attention, and the little laughed at his antics. Even Hikari couldn't help but like the hyperactive child with facial features of a fox. At the end of the supper she was ready to adopt the boy as her own. Naruto was about to leave after the greatest night of his life when Ranma stopped him. Leaving already, kid? Yeah, I'm late for curfew again and I'm expecting a punishment for it again. Well, I've got a proposition for you. What is it, mister? You see, my wife told me your caretakers up until now don't want to stay, am I right? Yeah, they just don't care, so they leave the second they can. Well, how about you live with us? My wife seems to have taken a liking to you, and Moegi would need a big brother to protect her from the boys when she gets older. I also like you a lot. You remind me of myself sometimes. I want to train you in my family martial art. So what do you say? Naruto had stars in his eyes. He would have a family, a father and mother figure, as well as a little sister to protect. He started sobbing and could only nod and hug his new father. The next day it was a surprised Hokage that made Uzumaki Naruto into Saotome Naruto. It was a good but unexpected surprise. From then on, Naruto trained with Ranma and Hikari when they were at his disposition. He took care of Moegi from time to time and had a joyous childhood without forgetting his goal, to become the best of the best. He started going to school and got to know a teacher there who had been in his mother's genin team. Iruka-sensei became his fourth favorite person in the world after his family. Most people still shunned him for an unknown reason. Which takes us to the Ninja Academy where he finally was in his terminal class. All of the teachers except Iruka-sensei gave him barely passing marks in classes. His father said they were simply unfair because they didn't understand him. He was unlucky the final exam was different. It would be a show of skill in front of the whole teachers' board. It was his third try and he was perfect each time and they still put him off for administrative reasons. He didn't complain too much though. He wanted to see Sakura-chan in class even if Sasuke had to be there. Thus, on the next to last day of school, Naruto was in high spirits as he left his house. He sat down at his usual place and waited for Sakura to come in. He was right next to Hinata. Sakura looked around the room when she got in. Ino was sitting there, right next to Sasuke. Damn Ino pig. I'm stuck next to Naruto now. For some reason, the blonde ninja was on her bad side. He wasn't that bad but something about him just seemed off. He couldn't be that bad but when the teachers corrected him on his jutsu he was almost as good as Sasuke and still got dead last. She sat next to him and ignored his beckoning. She stared at the back of Sasuke's head dreamily. Naruto looked between the two for a second. Then at the female population of the class who were imitating her except for Hinata who was staring at him with her face as flushed as usual. He tapped on Sasuke's shoulder and looked at him in the eyes. A staring contest ensued until Choji decided he wanted to get rid of his snack. It ended up hitting Naruto on his head and he lost his equilibrium. He reacted by instinct. His weight shifted, his hands moved to take support for his movement and he gave a boost to ensure he would not end up in a compromising position. He ended up clinging to the ceiling above the eyes of his amazed classmates. Ranma came in and sat at the teacher's desk. Naruto, get down from there. You know it's hell to clean up. Hi sensei, it was an accident. He got back to his place while most students looked at him. Now children, I am here as a substitute to Iruka-sensei for the day. I am Saotome Ranma but call me sensei. We will be working on sparring today. We all go outside for a workout. The class was abuzz now, they were rarely fighting for training. Only when they studied taijutsu and the substitute was talking about one of the favorite activities of most of the class. They followed to the sparring ring out of the school where Ranma called them one after another. I'll be the opponent of the first match, then we'll do a tournament. All techniques and jutsu are permitted unless it is mortal. Be aware you will most likely not beat me. The matches started and the students got their butts kicked thoroughly. Ranma seemed to follow the order of grades except for Naruto who was being ignored. Kiba was the one who lasted the longest with his dog helping him. Ranma got them out of the ring in 30 seconds instead of the usual 15. Then came Shikamaru who almost beat him with his shadow manipulation technique but he was the one closer to the rim of the ring and fell off first. Then Ranma called Sasuke before Naruto which, the ladies agreed, was wrong. Sensei, Sasuke is the best of the class. You seem to be following the listing by grades and yet you call him before Naruto. Why is that? I have my reasons but you'll see Miss Ino. Sasuke, front and center. Naruto, you're the referee for this match. Hi sensei. Are you both ready? Begin. Sasuke moved as fast as he could. He had studied his quarry the whole time but to fight against him was different than he had anticipated. He seemed to go faster than against the others. He had not once used a jutsu and yet he was winning against them one after another. This man was probably an Anbu or something. Sasuke unleashed his technique. Kaden Housenka no Jutsu. It hit Ranma head on but when the flames dispersed Ranma was sucking the heat out of the air with his soul vice technique. He then blurred and pushed Sasuke out of the combat arena. Very good Mr. Uchiha. You have a powerful technique there but you must use it well like the others you most likely know. It was a good try but the mistake you made was to believe it was enough to take me down. Had you moved after releasing the technique you would have lasted a couple of seconds longer. You did a good job though. Sasuke acknowledged the comment and replayed the whole fight in his head play by play in a flash. Alright, Naruto. Your turn to get your butt handed to you son. You know very well I'll win Oyagi, just make sure to give them a good show. I wouldn't be so sure about that son. Miss Haruno, if you'd please be the judge. This match is until submission or unconsciousness. Leaving the ring willingly or not is an abandon. Sasuke looked at the ring once again. Both fighters seemed to stick to taijutsu with only the basic kawarimi being used with constancy. They punched, kicked blocked in a frenzy of movements. Ranma was the first one to land a solid blow that sent Naruto flying. He seized the border of the ringside without touching the ground and flew back into the teacher to get back to it in earnest. Naruto was the first one to call a serious jutsu. Kanashibari no jutsu. Ranma countered the advanced technique with the same cry. They both cancelled each other and went back to hitting each other until the step to the edge of the ring. Naruto breathing hard and Ranma sweating lightly. 30 seconds into the fight and Naruto had done more than the others. Let's finish this now, Naruto. Ah. Got ya, pops. Ah. They gathered their ki in their hands, forming balls of energy and sent them forward. Naruto was sent back from the resulting wind while Ranma stayed standing. Naruto was the only one who had stayed up 45 seconds. Sasuke had done a 30 seconds. I believe you had restraints about Naruto, Miss Ino. I had a good reason to keep him last. Saotome Naruto is my son and he is my student as well. Like many of you received training from their family. Had we fought first thing, it would have been unjust for all of you since he knows my basic fighting style. Also, he lasted longer than all of you not because he is better but because he does this daily. Hey, I'll have you know I'm as good as they come. Naruto didn't know it but he was in a rather dangerous position. He had landed on Sakura and didn't know he was laying on her. Get off me, Naruto, then take your punishment like a man and die. An accident in air. He tried to get up but took support on the wrong place. Sakura's left breast. Both of them froze as the inner Sakura screamed for bloody murder. The outer Sakura did exactly the same as Naruto unknowingly used the crouch of the wild tiger to hope to survive the second he was off her. Ranma couldn't help but chuckle a little bit in the background. He reminded him of himself at 16 with Akane before he ended up in this world. Hikari was better with her temper but he didn't dare think about the consequences if he ever thought about another woman. Naruto was getting beaten up but was saved by his father. We'll begin our tournament now. Miss Haruno, you're up against Miss Hyuga in the first round. The matches started but the tournament was interrupted by the end of the classes. Ranma stopped the ongoing fight between Hinata and Ino before it started and simply left. Was your father Naruto? Sakura was talking to him. Yeah, he adopted me when I was young. Why? Then if you can fight that way, why did you flunk out 3 times, Naruto? I don't know, except for Iruka-sensei they treat me harshly and barely give me passing grades when I do the techniques perfectly. It's like everyone. She looked at him questioningly. His battle had aroused some interrogations within her. Naruto wasn't as cool as Sasuke but he was still as strong as him. Or maybe even stronger. If he held back like they most likely all did. There was no sense in giving too much information to the other just in case they had to fight. Everyone looks at me weirdly, they try to do like I don't exist but I do. That's why I train hard to become stronger and be the next Hokage. I'll make sure everyone in the village knows Saotome Naruto. She realized he was somewhat right. People on the street changed walkway when he passed sometimes, some went as far as to tell him to stay away. She realized that the children did the same as he had played by himself most of the time except when his little sister, Moegi and her friends arrived. From then on he had been surrounded by the younger classmen in school had always been around him and bullies inexplicably went around the group to stay in the back. No, not inexplicably, Naruto didn't tolerate them and they ran from him all the time for some reason. She had been saved by him once when people still teased her about her forehead. He had walked by going to his training and simply said, "Run now." Which was immediately obeyed. Those guys never made it to the genin level and were most likely scrubbing some floor somewhere in the village now. It was at that moment that he became her unofficial bodyguard. It seemed that every time someone was teasing her he would know and appear to stop them. It was when Ino gave her the ribbon she wears and they stopped teasing her that he stopped appearing. He did see her but he simply said hello and left. Then started her crush on Sasuke and she completely forgot about Naruto until he ended up in her classes in the ninja academy despite him being older. She had thought he was sort of stupid but now she understood a part of it. He was ignored by most people. Adults and children included, for a stupid and unknown reason. Hey Naruto. How about you walk with me home? He turned around after he took his pack and looked at her with his eyes opened instead of their normal lines. Hi. Ino was thinking that Sakura had a screw loose while she walked away with Shikamaru in tow. Hinata sighed as he left and did the same while Sasuke decided to follow him to see the training sessions between Naruto and Ranma. When they left the school, Sakura really understood what Naruto meant. People were pointing at him and some of them pointed at her. A trio of children ran their way. One of them had a long scarf while all 3 of them had goggles like Naruto. The girl with the twin pigtails jumped into Naruto's arms. Sakura recognized Moegi at the first look. She was just as hyper as her brother and the second eldest child of the Saotome. Oni-chan, is she your girlfriend? What? No, Moegi-chan, this is Sakura. You remember the girl who was teased because they were dumber than her? Yeah, now I remember, she's the one you have a crush on. At this point Naruto blushed a bit and turned to Sakura. Hee, the kids these days, they have such weird ideas. But you're the one who merglililol, he whispered in her ear a second only to look at Sakura. She's such a kidder, that sister of mine, come on, your parents will be waiting for you. He almost ran away from his sister and her friends dragging Sakura by the hand. There was nothing behind it, but it gave people the wrong idea. Slow down, Naruto. I don't know what makes you run from your sister, but slow down a little. Oops, sorry Sakura-chan. My sister is sort of annoying. She's persuaded I have a girlfriend, and when she saw us walking together she just assumed here we are. I'll see you tomorrow before the test, alright? Okay. See ya, Naruto. She went inside to find her parents looking at her. Tadaima. What were you doing with this boy Sakura? Her mother was obviously displeased with this particular frequentation, just like the other adults. I'll get some answers here. We are in the same classes and he's nice. Why, is there something I should know about him? Now her parents were nervous. Neither of them were known to be particularly strong ninjas. Her father was a tactical mastermind and her mother a mountain of knowledge, but they were administrative ninjas. Chunin because they had the brains for it. In normal settings they may have been able to hide their surprise and their knowledge, but Sakura had inherited their combined mental capabilities and knew what to look for when she needed to know something. Maybe there is, but we cannot tell you. Even telling you we can't could be against the rule of silence. Just try to stay away from him. Her father was the fastest to regain his footing and he left the room to not be subjected to an interrogation. Dear, please, your father is right. This boy is not a good frequentation. You could have a better choice in a boyfriend. Sakura laughed, hard and long. Her mother was looking at her, but when she calmed down she explained. Sorry to disappoint you, Okazen, but he's just a classmate, not my boyfriend. He's nice enough but not that nice. Hell yeah. Only Sasuke is nice enough. Inner Sakura manifested herself with conviction. You're almost old enough to go on missions, so I guess I can trust you about that. Thanks, Okazen. I'm going to study a while. We returned to Naruto. Once he had passed a couple of blocks, Naruto stopped and turned to the nearest tree. Oi, Sasuke, get down from there. If you wanted to walk with us you should have said it. Sasuke was surprised again by Naruto. The dead last of the class was able to sense him with accuracy. He jumped down from his position and walked up to the blonde. You wanted to see how I train, right? I'm curious. Yes, you're better than your grades tell. Thanks, follow me then. With Sakura here I can take to the roofs. They ran across the rooftops towards the Saotome home. The copy of the Tendo home and dojo made by Ranma came into view. Before they even reached the compound, Naruto jumped into the air and engaged Ranma in combat. Sasuke was once again witness of a battle, but this time Naruto pushed himself harder while Ranma-sensei held back to build up more skills and make the lesson more worthwhile. It took 10 minutes for the fight to escalate to using jutsus. They used high-level skills to try to incapacitate the other only to counter one another. The battle ended when Ranma pushed a pressure point that paralyzed Naruto. So, I see you followed Naruto here, Sasuke. Want to have another go at it? Sasuke grinned. He understood he was out of his league by a lot, but it was one of the best ways to improve. He didn't give warning when he attacked. Ranma was prepared and sparring resumed. They fought for about 10 minutes until Ranma finished it with the same paralyzing point. Well, now you know the pressure point at least, if not more. He released the point and was immediately attacked by Naruto. This time it was Ranma who ended up paralyzed. A smiling Naruto freed Sasuke, who attacked Naruto in the same fashion. For some reason, he really wanted to beat this blonde into a pulp. He reached the same pressure point and grinned when both of the Saotome were stuck in a particularly painful position. I seem to have won. Good job both of you, now free us, Sasuke. My wife will kill me if I'm late. Ranma was right, the sun was about to set and the training session had taken a full hour. He found the nerve cluster to release the block and got ready to leave. Hey kid. How about you come and train with us again someday? Naruto needs a sparring partner at his level. Sasuke grinned as he left. It was unexpected to find a good opponent in Naruto, but he wouldn't argue if he could get closer to his goal. Someday, I'll be strong enough to kill you, brother. Diner that night was a quiet affair. Even the three younger Saotome were silent, sensing that something important would happen this night. Hikari took the dishes, and when Naruto moved to help her as he usually did, Ranma stopped him. Not tonight, son. We are going in the woods to have a little talk. We need some privacy for that. An hour later they stood in a clearing in the forest. It was where Ranma had used the Umi Senken to escape the hunter Nin all those years ago. He dropped into the lotus position and was followed by Naruto. Son, tomorrow you'll pass your test and become a genin. Had the teacher not been Iruka, I would have talked to the Hokage about it, but he'll judge you justly. After that you'll be going on missions. Alright. Finally, I'll be a ninja. Yes son, but that was not the reason we had to talk. What was it then, Oyagi? Ranma sighed. He had informed the Hokage of his intentions and the man reluctantly accepted what he was about to do. He told him the whole unaltered truth about him. So, I'm carrying the fox demon, or am I the fox demon? Did you just take pity on me, or maybe you were ordered to take me in? None of that son. You carry the seal, and yes, maybe you also carry the fox demon, but you are surely not a demon. A demon would have destroyed those in its way. You protect others by using strength, but you never killed or even maimed anyone. When I met you, I didn't even know about the demon inside of you. I did feel kind of sorry because no one cared, but if I hadn't I would have been lower than the one who knew yet did nothing. Hikari adopted you in full knowledge that the demon is sealed inside of you, son. She doesn't love you any less. Never assume you are a demon or people who help you have pity for you all the time. You were a kid back then, tomorrow you'll be a man.
However, unless you absolutely need to say it, never tell anyone what I told you tonight. There is a rule in the village, a cruel and useless rule to me, but it's better than the alternative. The fourth, when he sealed away the demon, wanted you to be seen as a hero of the village. The grieving villagers saw you as the demon itself instead as the one who saved them. This belief made them ignore your existence. I had to fight to get you into the academy and almost decided to train you at home for a year and send you to the exam with the Hokage as witness. Their behavior also passed down to their children as they thought of you as someone to be ignored.
That's why they all. Don't worry son, you are still you. Whatever they think is wrong, you are being slowly acknowledged.
I saw it today. There's Hinata who seems to be quite interested in you. There's Sakura, even if she shouts at you she still acknowledges your existence. Then there's Sasuke. He may not have done so before but he does now. Your whole family does as well. Your sister and brothers look up to you as a model. Your mother and I are proud of you, Naruto. You are Saotome Naruto, not some dumb demon of death and destruction. You may want to think about all this, but remember that we love you, son.
Naruto was crying. It was only tears, not sobs, but there was a lot to think about. He took a minute to calm down enough to regain his bearings and thought. Ranma had left the scene, but that was normal for him. Naruto got up and turned around as he felt someone behind him. He caught the shuriken thrown at him and took a battle stance. The large throwing star was held low and he awaited the next move of his invisible foe. He caught a second object thrown at him. Well. I stole that scroll and learned nothing of it. If you're the one to hold it when the Chunins come, you'll be blamed Demon Fox. I'll be in the clear. Naruto threw the shuriken at the precise position of the voice and made it fall to the ground. He then saw one of his teachers, Mizuki-sensei, on the ground. It's at the moment he was about to fight him that Iruka-sensei made his appearance. Naruto. I saw the whole thing. I'll hold him off while you run. Now go.
Naruto saw the validity of such an action. Mizuki was weaker than Iruka and the scroll would be safer from his hands. He also decided to get a little extra from this exercise and read the first series of Seal to the Shadow techniques. Cage trick and easily done too. I wonder if I'd have time to read a second one. Cage shuriken. I know that one. No one if you're affected by the Goguifuian no Gukaku no Jutsu, now that's more like it. Let's see, but not impossible. He stopped running and rolled the scroll back into its proper form. I'll just wait here for Iruka-sensei to come back. He waited for a while only for the injured Iruka and the grinning Mizuki to start fighting right next to him. He hid in the shadows to wait for an opportunity.
Well Iruka, protecting the fox demon I see, even after he killed your parents too. What a shame you helped him escape, now you won't get to see tomorrow. They'll all believe he did it despite his family and the village and blame Ranma and you for your attitude. You're finished Iruka. But before I send you to hell, tell me why you protected that murdering demon. Unlike you, I saw he wasn't the Nine Tails. He is Saotome Naruto, a ninja of the Konoha who is also one of my best students. He may be acting in a foolish matter sometimes, but he's more of a ninja than you'll ever be. Nice words Iruka, too bad they're your last. An impact on the ground cut him off and a kick to the chin sent him back. The dust dispersed to reveal a pissed Naruto. You won't touch a hair on Iruka-sensei or I'll kill you. Oh well, I'll have to kill you first then. I'll even give you an edge, hit me first. Naruto took the position of a seal he had never practiced. His chakra exploded outwards and he sent a battle cry.
Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Hundreds of copies of Naruto appeared around the now scared Mizuki.
Well then, come on Mizuki, you won't? Then here I come.
The scene being too violently gratuitous it will not be described. Let it be said that a severely hurt Mizuki laying on the ground was unconscious. He was tied up and being dragged to town by Naruto. Uruka was laying half his weight on his student to walk as they tried to reach another member of the patrol. It was Ranma who found them. Hey, Uruka, found the thief. Yes, he was trying to frame Naruto. He took the other arm of Uruka and the trio went back to town. Naruto was going to school once again. It would be his last day as a student and his parents would be there to congratulate him. He had a skip in his step as he ran to school. He was running on the roofs as he usually did to be out of the center of attention. He saw the usual Ino versus Sakura race and decided to go down for once.
Oi, girls, what are you running for? Naruto asked. Grr, sorry I asked, can I race with you? In the middle I mean. He wanted to, really, it would be fun.
Grr, if I stop you. They growled some more but had to stop when Naruto put his hands on their foreheads. They were still running but not moving. The standstill lasted 20 seconds until Naruto started moving from their combined forces. Forget it. I'm out of here. He moved out of the way and let them run as fast as they could while he ran besides them. He passed them at the door of the class only to hear them declare they were first at the same time. He sat down between Shikamaru and Hinata who blushed again.
Hello. Naruto Kun. He smiled at her which turned the blush deeper. Hey there Hinata-chan, how are you? Fine thank you, she answered in a stutter.
He turned to the front of the class where a teacher called the names of the first one to be tested. They either came out with a leaf headband or in shame. Hinata was one of the first to go. She came back shortly with her headband around her neck. Naruto smiled at her again only to be answered by another blush. Good job Hinata, he exclaimed to her. Kun. She was so red she almost glowed with embarrassment and some happiness.
He got up at the call of his name and went into the classroom to find Iruka-sensei and Ranma as the evaluators.
You passed yesterday Naruto. You used an advanced form of the Bunshin no Jutsu to beat Mizuki so you pass. Uruka told him.
I do? Yeah, I did it. Can I have my head protector now? Naruto was exited way beyond his normal level. Ranma handed it to him and he passed it on his head. He then listened to the instructions for the next day and practically ran out of the door. Everyone turned when he loudly announced he passed. I did it YAHHOOOO. He sat down next to Hinata who seemed to stutter harder. See. Naruto-kun. Yeah, thanks Hinata-chan. She blushed even deeper if that was possible and stayed that way until both Ranma and Iruka-sensei came in.
All of those who have graduated will have their pictures taken tomorrow and be assigned to a team. Then they are to begin missions when their teacher is ready. You are all dismissed. Uruka said to the ninjas. They were now the equivalent of military officers and he had to tell orders.
They stepped outside to their respective family. Naruto was assaulted by his family as he stepped with his headband on.
Most of the class was in a similar predicament except the older clans of the village. Hinata was getting stern congratulations from her parents. Sasuke was an orphan and only his current caretaker was there to say, good work, before he left again. He got away before the girls of the class could flock him as they usually did. Neji was also getting congratulations but that was a creepy get-together as the guy was mostly silent just like his family. Naruto turned to see Sakura coming towards him.
Hey, Naruto, oi, Sakura-chan. Congrats on passing the exam. Same to you Naruto. Hey, how about you meet my parents? I wanted them to meet Sasuke but he disappeared, she said in a disappointed tone.
You know him, he doesn't like gatherings. Naruto answered with his usual happy-go-lucky voice.
Yeah, he probably went home the second he got out. Sakura was still talking with a disappointed voice. How about you meet my family first? Naruto asked her, too happy to present his crush to his parents. Naruto still had his brother and sister hanging on him literally. You obviously know Moegi, this little devil is Ryoma. They let go of Naruto and looked at the girl. You see Ryoma, I told you Nichin had a girlfriend. Moegi told the smaller child. You mean like kissing and stuff? Ryoma looked disgusted for a second while he said that. They both looked at the teenagers and expressed their distaste. EWWWWW. Hey, I'm not that bad looking am I? Naruto complained to his siblings. It's not that Nichin but, his sister was looking for a way out of their predicament. Kissing is so gross. Ryoma stated in a matter-of-fact tone. Sakura laughed a little. Kids like that never knew they'd be the ones to receive these comments later. First of all, Naruto is my friend, not my boyfriend. Second, the only boy I'd kiss isn't here or you'd want to kiss him too, I'm sure of it. Sakura winked at the young girl while she said that.
Naruto sighed in defeat but took it in stride. There was no insult there. She just liked Sasuke better than she liked him at the moment.
Ranma and Hikari were talking with the Harunas at the same time. Your daughter seems to be a friend of our son, Hikari remarked.
Mrs. Haruna sighed at that. Somehow I know he isn't, but I just can't help but feel anxious. Mrs. Haruna answered.
It was Hikari who sighed now. All the mothers she knew had the same view of the safety of their children in view of Naruto.
He's not bad, maybe mischievous at times, but he doesn't hurt people. The last time I heard of him in a fight, it was because some bully was picking on his sister. He's more of a protector than an attacker. The mother defended her son. Well, I'll trust you on this, Mrs. Saotome, but I still hope they won't be in the same team. They are getting closer somehow, and I don't want her to be hurt if he ever goes berserk. The anxious mother hesitantly said back. Hikari almost laughed at the fear in her voice. She didn't want her daughter involved with Naruto, and that was plain in sight. Naruto was admittedly stronger than the average genin, but with his father and natural strength there was no way he would be otherwise. Don't worry too much. Naruto isn't some wild beast, he's a ninja, and you should consider him as a human instead of what you believe he is. I lost my parents during that time, and yet I still adopted him. You should let go of that fear. He's a normal child and I don't care about the condition. Hikari wanted to assure Mrs. Haruno that there was no danger.
The discussion was over there and then. Mrs. Saotome loved her son, plain and simple. Sakura dragged Naruto towards her mother in a headlock. At least she was her slightly violent self. Okazen, this is Naruto. Sakura shortly introduced her friend.
The boy bowed to the woman. If he ever wanted to date Sakura someday, he needed to make a very good first impression instead of his usual stupid attitude.
Pleased to meet you, ma'am. Naruto bowed to mid-waist while he tried to keep himself from anything stupid.
The woman seemed a little shaken with his attitude. In truth, she only knew about him from what the teachers had told her. Iruka was of a different set of mind, but they considered him as a nuisance generally. His relative politeness was unexpected.
The pleasure's all mine, young man. Just make sure not to get my little Sakura in trouble. She surprised herself with that answer, but what was done, and the young man was beaming at what was quite an improvement. She usually gets me out of it without getting into it herself. If you'll excuse me, I want Sakura to meet my mom too. Naruto once again bowed and directed his attention and Sakura towards his mother.
Very well, she sighed. He had seen the slight panic in her eyes. She was sure of it, and he had left just because he didn't make her comfortable. Her husband came up behind her.
Seems like Saotome-san told him, was all her husband said. That made her gasp in a little shock. He knew of his origins and yet didn't lash out at everything in a fit of rage. He seems not to care. She sighed. He also won't be telling everyone unless he needs to, I suppose. Those who may know will try to lynch him for all we may know.
I suppose, but I think the younger may not care about that anymore. They weren't there and few of them lost both their parents except Naruto himself. He reasoned to his wife in a whisper.
Somehow, they were less hostile to the boy now, back with Naruto and Sakura. Oi, Okazen, I want you to meet Sakura, the exuberant ninja said. Pleased to meet you, Saotome-san. Since Naruto had to be so polite with her mother, Sakura felt obliged to do the same with his. Nonsense, dear, call me auntie please. I'm not that old, the older woman remarked while she bowed as well. Naruto blushed a little at the look his mother sent him, while his father, who held a little back, said something about his own mother. All right then, auntie, I'll see you tomorrow, Naruto, Sakura said as she walked back to her parents. Yeah, see ya, Sakura-chan, Naruto said. He waved at her as she left before he turned to his own family.
Son, that's a nice girl you met. You know I want grandchildren someday. Hikari said it right there. Freud turned in his tomb and renamed his Oedipus complex the Ranma complex.
Naruto blushed at the idea of having children in the mandatory activities before the 9 months of pure hell as he knew them from the birth of Ryoma. At least she doesn't say, my son is so manly, like my mother did, Ranma said under his breath in the hopes his wife wouldn't hear. They left the school ground for a rather private reception for their graduated son.
The next day, in the classroom, the team's roll call was slowly being called. There were 27 graduates for 9 teams.
Team 7 will be Haruno Sakura, Iruka-sensei said. Put me with Sasuke, put me with Sasuke. Inner Sakura screamed while she punched and kicked at imaginary opponents. Uchiha Sasuke. Once again with the call roll. Mind power ha. Inner Sakura had her fist in the air with a look of triumph over nature and the odds themselves. Oi, Ino, I get to be with Sasuke all the time. What do you say about that? Sakura gloated to her rival and, on the subconscious level, friend. Saotome Naruto. The third name on the team fell as well as the hopes of Sakura. No. Inner Sakura was hit to the heart somehow as she screamed in agony. And you carry the third wheel of the bike, right? Ino shot back while Sakura looked thoroughly defeated. Team 10. Yamanoka Ino, Nara Shikamaru and Akamichi Choji. The teacher called again. Ha. Stuck with these two, ha 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 ha. At least I'm with Sasuke, and Naruto can be useful as a human shield. You're stuck with two shields. The defeat of Sakura was now a complete and utter victory on her part, as the cavalry had made it on time. I'm team leader from now on, you morons. Ino tried to make her superiority clear. Why me? Was the only thought from Shikamaru, who was already seeing the torture of being next to Ino all day long, or worst. It was obvious Shikamaru didn't really mind the arrangement, but even if Ino was a major babe in his book, it didn't mean her attitude didn't get to him sometimes. The teams left one after another until there was only Team 7 left in the classroom. What is the sensei doing? He's late. What are you doing, Naruto? It was Sakura who was voicing her opinion of the lateness of their instructor. Naruto was pulling a prank on the sensei, it seems. Testing this sensei, I'll see if he is either stupid or holding back, he rationalized with the kunoichi. He placed the blackboard eraser on top of the door only to be hit in the back of his head by a piece of chalk. I'm far from stupid, Naruto. I'm also quite aware that I'm late. I had a meeting with the Hokage and your impatience is quite a flaw. A voice came from the window. Sensei. Naruto exclaimed. Yup, I'm your teacher. Let's get to know each other better. Tell me your name, goals, likes and dislikes. Everything you can think about, Ranma said. I'll start, Sensei. I'm Saotome Naruto. My goal is to become the Hokage. What I like is food and Sakura-chan. What I dislike is bullies and people who ignore me. I'm also the carrier of the seal of the Kyuubi and people think I'm the demon. My name is Haruno Sakura. My goal is to... I can't say it. What I like is... I can't say it either. What I hate. When Naruto does something annoying. I'm Uchiha Sasuke. What I like and dislike are my busyness. My goal is to kill a certain man. Alright, now I know who to say needs to go back to the academy. Nani? You have to pass a test tomorrow, 5:30 at the training square. Don't take a breakfast. I'm gonna make you sweat and food will make you barf. No. Not one of those tests, whined Naruto. Yes, one of those, Naruto. I'll make sure you don't eat either tomorrow. Ranma responded as calmly as humanly possible. Kusu. Naruto whined again while he looked down in defeat. You're dismissed until tomorrow. 5:30 sharp, no lateness tolerated this time, Ranma said with the voice of a drill instructor. The next morning, at 5:30 sharp, Team 7 and their sensei were ready to go at it. Oi, why did you have to make sure I didn't eat? Now I won't be able to fight at full strength, the famished Naruto grumbled. If you barf you eat it, you know. It's actually better that you didn't eat, Ranma stated. He led his team to a clearing in the forest next to a slab of stone. Now first of all, there is a test today normally, but as you may have noticed, unlike the other teams, ours is less balanced than the others, Ranma explained. What do you mean, sensei? Sakura inquired, not understanding. Ranma breathed as he looked at the three. Sakura, you are the smartest ninja of the graduation. Sasuke is deemed a genius by all the teachers and Naruto is the ninja with the highest endurance level since I passed at the academy. I was an adult at the time, as you may know. I was adopted into the village unlike you who were born here, Ranma explained. What does that change, sensei? With Naruto's grades we might as well have been balanced according to the administration, Sasuke stated. You're right, Sasuke, but you saw firsthand that Naruto should be a genin already. Even you can't say it isn't true. Yourself have been ready for a while. Today I should test you, but I believe your team just needs my training regimen. Naruto and Sasuke will train with my assistant while I'll get Sakura a little more up to par with the two of you. Kakashi. You can come here and begin, Ranma called. The white-haired genin dropped from the tree with his book, Come Paradise, out and ready to be read. The trio of genin sweat dropped as he turned a page of the perverted magazine without looking up at them. Hey there. I'll be the assistant of Ranma-sensei. Call me Kakashi-sensei. Just a question. What is it, Naruto? Why are you his assistant? You're a Junin yourself, so, he asked slowly. None of your business. Let's get to the training, shall we, boys? The copy ninja asked. Another question, sensei. If we are to be sent into missions as a 3-ninja team, wouldn't it be more effective to train all 3 of us in coordinated battles? Naruto asked again. Sasuke turned and walked away without caring. I don't care about the team, they'll just slow me down, Sasuke stated as though it was the simplest of realities. Ranma got up and blurred to get in front of Sasuke. Naruto has a point here. Let's discuss it for now. He redirected his student to the group. They all sat down in a circle except Kakashi, who continued to read his book. You see, the point of the test is to weed out those who have nothing to do here. Right now you all flunk. If one of you three is not able to pass the test, you all go back to the academy. Since it seems I was wrong in my assumptions that you were intelligent enough to do without it, I'll just have to make you try for the test, he stated in a slightly disappointed tone. I have 2 bells here, on my belt. You need to get one of them and you pass, Ranma said in a cheerful tone of voice. But sensei, Sakura asked, if there are 2 bells and 3 of us, how can we pass, since if one fails the other 2 do as well? That is a rather difficult problem that you have to solve, Miss Haruno. It's not my problem. The test starts in 5 minutes. Do whatever you want, Ranma said as he walked to a group of trees. Both Sakura and Sasuke went to the bushes while Naruto stayed in the shade of the tree. Why are you not running, Naruto? Ranma asked the blonde ninja. Whatever for? You know where they're hidden and I can't hide from you well enough yet. Fighting you alone is suicide, and until those 2 realize this I'll just wait and ponder, he answered. Do you think I'll let you ponder? Ranma asked back. Sasuke will attack the second you move towards a point of impact. Sakura will wait to surprise you, and unless you have a part for me to play in this little soap opera, I'll just relax and try to train a little with Kakashi-sensei if he wants to, Naruto predicted. Said ninja lifted his face towards Naruto and Ranma. You haven't told him, have you? Kakashi asked the other ninja. Have you seen him fight against me with his brother and sister? He's the ninja equivalent of a general in training. He knew the goal of the exercise the second I stated there were 2 bells, and if he didn't, it was because he was thinking of tactical possibilities of a solo defeat of me, Ranma shrugged. Kakashi shrugged. They were Ranma's ninjas now, not his. He turned to the already training Naruto, who was obviously the son of Ranma, training machine, Saotome. He was doing a kata unarmed at high speed while throwing shurikens at a nearby 3 with deadly accuracy. All right then, I'll fight you, just try to make it convincing. It might help the others realize they need to work together, he said. Naruto stopped moving for a second before he switched styles for a less deadly one and attacked Kakashi head-on. In the bushes, Sasuke was observing both the fight and Ranma. He wanted the tactical advantage of surprise. Ranma looked straight at him in an unknown signal of knowledge of his presence, then turned towards Sakura. I know where you both are, therefore you have already lost on your own, Ranma stated to the 2 ninjas. They both clenched their teeth. Sakura made a decision and got out to rejoin Naruto in his spontaneous training exercise. Sasuke moved as fast as he could to try and hide again. He then came out of seemingly nowhere to hit Ranma with his fire technique. Kaden Gukakyu no Jutsu, Sasuke exclaimed. The ball of fire traveled towards Ranma, but he didn't move. When it hit, Sasuke kept moving with the center of the flame in his sight. The move had taken a lot out of him, but he needed to show he was stronger. When the fire dissipated, it became evident that he never touched his mark. You, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, Ranma exclaimed from behind him. Ranma pulled Sasuke underground up to his neck and stood before him. You should never assume an attack position when the enemy is both stronger and more well-informed than you are. Especially when the said enemy is sneaky, he summarized the battle. He turned towards the training session where Kakashi was barely holding his own against the combined attacks. Sakura was the support, using kunais and sneak attacks when she could, while Naruto kept him busy enough to pull off those attacks. The exam's over, everyone, come here. They made their way towards the annoyed head of Sasuke. We're taking a break for dinner. Since Sakura and Naruto seem to have understood the meaning of this part of the exam, they get a bento. Now don't give Sasuke any of your food or you'll flunk. I'm going with Kakashi to discuss your fate, Ranma said in a severe tone. At some hidden cue, all 3 of their stomachs decided to make themselves known. Now that we are alone and quite stuck there, Sasuke, listen to me, you moron, Naruto said harshly. Sasuke is not a moron. Naruto no baka. Don't pick on Sasuke-kun. Sakura hit Naruto over his head. In Ranma's home world, a certain tomboy sneezed. Okay, I take it back, Sakura-chan. Listen, you pig-headed fool. Ranma-sensei is strong, too strong for only one of us. We need to work together for us to even touch the bells. You're lucky I know the parlé de foie gras or you wouldn't get a bite of food, Naruto said without missing a beat in feeding the offending ninja and himself with both his lunch and Sakura's. Sasuke was chewing a third of Naruto's lunch, keeping his mouth shut. After the diner, we need to coordinate our attacks. Oh, Naruto looked horrified. A piece of food was hanging from Sasuke's mouth, giving the teachers enough reason to flunk them all.
The sky got darker, the winds picked up. The end of the world seemed imminent. Sakura hid behind Naruto because Sasuke would have been useless at this moment. Naruto stood his ground to impress Sakura, which was highly ineffective. The ground exploded in front of the trio to reveal Ranma.
You have broken the rules, and thus you pass,
Kakashi came in the scene with his book opened. Actually, I'm the one who was the teacher. I asked Ranma-sensei to help me a little with the setup and the training. Or rather, he proposed himself to be the trainer while we're here. He is right about Sakura needing some more work in the physical department, but he'll be able to help.
He turned the last page of his book, closed it and put it back in his pocket. Naruto got the idea of the actual test the second we proposed to divide you, Kakashi explained.
I did. Of course I did. Nothing can get past me. Ain't I cool, Sakura-chan? Naruto took a gloating position and gloated.
Stop being annoying, Naruto. The girl he tried to impress punched him straight in the face. Damn moron, trying to one-up Sasuke-kun, inner Sakura said. Ranma got near to his surrogate son and whispered into his ear. You need lessons in girl-chasing, son? I'm ready to provide you with my knowledge of what to do and not to do. Naruto was louder though. From what I remember mom telling me, you had every female ninja at your feet because of a curse, not some invincible Saotome charm, he stated. Kakashi and Sakura extracted Sasuke from the ground while Naruto and Ranma started sparring like Ranma and his father had in the past.
While they are occupied with each other, I'll explain the bells. You see, they were to see if you would take the chance of going alone in a brave but foolish battle or coordinate your forces. Kakashi explained this time.
But why? Sakura asked. He took a kunai and pointed it at Sasuke. Sakura, kill Naruto or Sasuke dies, Kakashi ordered. She shuddered at the idea. Kakashi forgot Naruto was behind him and got sent sprawling across the field by a kick. The Junin got up and put his kunai back in its holder.
That kind of situation is possible in missions. People die in the heat of battle, friends, enemies, allies and even strangers. None of the ninjas are truly safe from harm. What do you do in such a situation? If you obey, there is no real guarantee the enemy won't simply kill your ally and then you're all alone against them. This is the cruel reality. Rather than be alone, you have to do like Naruto did. Try to free your teammate and gain a slight advantage, he stated. He moved towards the slab of stone and loudly clapped in front of it. This stone holds the name of heroes of the village. Some of those names are those of my companions, he said respectfully. Someday I'll have my name on it, Naruto stated loudly as usual. Kakashi turned towards him with neutral eyes set on him. They are those who died in combat, he stated, and heavy silence weighed on Naruto. To be a hero is not to be known by everyone sometimes. It's just to do you're the first ones to pass my test, so Ranma is going to advise me a little and provide Sakura with a little extra training in the morning, he said in a less serious tone. Yup, Ranma did something he hadn't done in a long time. He scratched the base of his neck where his pigtail was and said the words that got him in his first bit of trouble. Sorry about this setup, kids. For some reason, it seemed appropriate, and with the age difference there was little to no danger at all from this degenerating into a Narumian-type situation with Sakura. Please, don't do that, it's disturbing for some reason, Naruto complained. Ranma laughed wholeheartedly. Well, we'll start your training tomorrow. Speak with Ranma-sensei for the specifics of your physical training, Sakura. Naruto will most likely be there as well, so Sasuke should join you, Kakashi said as he turned to them. Naruto didn't seem to mind too much, but Ranma looked at Kakashi with a little exasperation. You're trying to give me all the work, aren't you? You're lucky I already agreed to train Sakura or I'd. Ranma grumbled some more while Naruto was in a world of his own. Sasuke finally got completely out of his hole. Tomorrow at 6 at the Saotome dojo. You're not my only students, you know. Sasuke nodded and prepared to leave. I don't know where that is, sensei. Naruto grinned and took his best gentleman voice. It'd be a pleasure to show you the place before I walk you home. Sasuke was already leaving and with him Sakura. Naruto ran after them. Will you walk me there tomorrow, Sasuke-kun? Asked Naruto. He said, annoyed for some reason. I'll show you, Sakura. I live there after all, Naruto said. Naruto. I'm trying to have a conversation with Sasuke-kun here. Sakura punched him again. Both started bickering like a married couple. The group separated at the bridge where they had met Ranma that morning, only for Naruto and Sakura to go in the same direction. Say, Sakura. Want me to show you to my place just in case you need to get there earlier? You never know. Naruto almost flew in happiness. The pink-haired girl sighed and nodded as her answer. Naruto grinned at her and led her through the streets to the rather big house. You know, Sakura commented,
How come the Saotome clan has an estate like this one without being one of the older clans of the village? It was true that unlike the Hyuga and the Uchiwa who had estates because of their rank and blood gifts, the Saotome clan was rather new and small. Naruto took his classic thinking position as he went through the things his old man had told him about the place.
I know. My father built the place with his own hands when he was still young. My mother was a member of an old clan as well, and the village was in expansion at the time, so the land was kind of cheap. He told me it was a reproduction of the first home he can remember having. He said with some pride.
The first home? Where is he from anyway? Sakura asked with a little curiosity. No idea. He never told me. This was said in the most simple and innocent voice known to mankind. That voice was stating the obvious and simple truth. Whaat, he doesn't even know where his parents are from? Inner Sakura was hitting in nothingness. You don't even know your origins enough to know where you're from, she said without thinking. Naruto looked down as he remembered his true origins. Oh, I'm sorry Naruto, I didn't mean it that way. She mistook it for grief at not knowing his parents. He lifted his head with his usual smile on his face, the grin that said, I am annoying. Kill me, and shook his head.
I sure don't, Sakura-chan. I'd like to know more than I do right now could be even more dangerous than ignorance. I'd rather it stays in the shadows for now, he said mysteriously.
She looked at him strangely. He knew something more but kept it hidden for some reason. She decided to investigate when she had the time. Whatever you say, Naruto. I'm going home. See you tomorrow. She turned towards her home. Yeah, goodbye Sakura-chan. He waved at her with his usual grin.
Sakura left the premises while Naruto looked down. In the shadows, the figure of his mother hung back, intent on talking to her husband about their son. She may be the smart one of the operation, but she sure wasn't equipped properly for that particular talk. Haruno Sakura barely knew what 5 a.m. was, she barely knew it existed and shuddered to think of people who got up at this time. Obviously, both Naruto and Sasuke were used to such a time since they were already fighting over the rooftops.
Sasuke. Get ready to lose. Naruto screamed, waking a few people. To you. Never, the dark-haired Uchiha replied much quieter, but while he was still fighting.
Sakura looked at the battle. They were an hour early and they were already going at it using only taijutsu and the occasional kunai. As they battled, Naruto would occasionally infuriate his opponent just to try and spite him, which served him right in that Sasuke started to use his special techniques. His fire elemental attacks flew everywhere, but Naruto countered in kind with a series of shields and counters just before he turned the tide in his favor. Kaden. Huasenka no Jutsu. Naruto screamed as the ball of fire formed itself. Sakura screamed, and just as the ball was about to hit Sasuke, Ranma stopped the match with a canceling technique of his own. The sensei came out of a shadow and talked to his students. Sakura decided to join them immediately and jumped to the adjacent rooftop. Nice battle, boys. Naruto, you need to work on your chakra control, you spent too much again. You Sasuke need to work on your mental control. If the enemy makes you mad, you have already lost. Now both of you give me 100 push-ups counting now. Haruno-san, warm up. You are early, but that's even better. Ranma instructed Sakura on her warm-up exercises until he was satisfied. Now we're going to sprint to the dojo over the roofs. Follow me. Ranma made sure he was followed by his students and went at his leisurely pace, which was a real torture for the trainees. Down on the street, both Kurenai and Asuma were looking at the training team 7.
You think they're trying to surpass our teams? Kurenai asked. No, they already surpass us. Ranma's training them while Kakashi stays back. I think our teams need special exercises as well. Asuma told her as he finished his cigarette. I'm going. We have a mission affected to us at 0730 hours and we're supposed to meet at the Go Club. See ya. He left her on the street and she turned her way. Contrarily to what Asuma said, Kakashi was quite occupied with his own workload. Why am I stuck with this job? He was holding a vest in his arms and a needle in his right hand. Yes, Sharingan Kakashi was sewing weight vests. At least it would be useful to his students. Because I'm training them for you, so you have to pay for it a little. Sewing vests isn't that big a price. Ranma said as he came in the dojo followed by Naruto, Sasuke and the very winded Sakura. Now it's 0600, we are starting our training, the warm-up being done for all of you. We will start with walking with training vests. Sasuke and Sakura were puzzled, but Naruto looked absolutely horrified at the mention of this particular training. We're doomed, he exclaimed as the revelation of the exercise was made to him. Naruto, put on the extra way, the others have to put on lighter versions. Ranma told his son, who seized a backpack made by his father with a load of what he called depleted uranium. The thing was heavy like hell and lead seemed lighter somehow. Why don't we have the same as Naruto? Sasuke asked, eager to get stronger.
One must progress one step at a time until he is able to go up no longer. Try this one, it's one of Naruto's old vests. Ranma gave the vest to the Uchiha survivor who was quite impressed by its weight.
Does Naruto wear one all the time? He asked the teacher.
Yes, it serves as training instrument as well as protective armor. If he was to remove it he would be faster and stronger by several times. You're not that far from him yourself since this is the one he wore just 2 weeks ago and you can lift it, you'll have to put on a training weight as well. Ranma explained. It wasn't exactly enough for Sasuke but he slipped on the vest, the bracers and the ankle weights anyway and understood the principle.
How heavy, and Naruto runs and spars with those on, he was astonished. Don't worry, in 1 week you won't feel it anymore, Ranma said as he took a female version of the same vest from a drawer. Miss Haruno, I have one that'll fit you like a charm, just try to lift it.
And try she did, she also almost failed. Good, just the right way to start working up to par with those two. No additional weights for you though. He said that as she slipped it over her clothes.
What now, sensei? She asked as she struggled to just stay up. You run once around the block and then you have to sprint 100 meters followed by different exercises like jump rope, push-ups and jumping jacks.
You then have your mission you will perform while still weight and then your everyday life, just sit on the ground from now on or on reinforced chairs. Now go. The ninjas snapped to attention and ran out of the dojo as fast as they could. It took the team the quarter of an hour to complete the first wave of exercises. Once they were done, Ranma looked at his heaving pupils. Good, now to start the real training for you boys. Sparring session while wearing the vests. No holding back on destructiveness but no lethal blows. Sakura will work with me. He stated this just as the boys let go of their added weights. Sensei, what are we going to do? Sakura asked. Cat is at slow speed to get you accustomed to your new weight. On a side note, this training will make you gain lots of weight but make no mistake, your figure won't be touched by it in the slightest way, Ranma seemed to ponder at this. You'll have to follow a very simple diet, eat lots and lots of food other than salad.
Sakura stared at her sensei. He was basically telling her to eat whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted and she would still look as svelte and beautiful as she already did.
ALLLLRRRRRIGHT. Training here I come. Inner Sakura screamed while the outer one showed signs of fierce determination to go through this training heaven. Ere hell she corrected herself.
Assume position. Ranma ordered and she assumed the first basic stance he was assuming himself. They then proceeded to execute every movement with absolute precision until it was 8 a.m.
Mat. Good job everyone. Now clear the mats and cool down. You have a mission briefing with the 3rd Hokage at 0845 hours class dismissed. The students hurriedly did as they were told and regrouped at the entrance. Good morning everyone, you'll have your first mission at 0845 at the main office. Do not be late or you'll feel my wrath. Also, training resumes after the mission or at 17:30 until your teacher is satisfied you're dead enough for his taste. Understood? Kakashi asked the student.
Yes sir, but why are your hands wounded? Sakura asked. The Junin developed a sweat drop at the question. Think fast, thick fast. I burned myself with the stove this morning. Got ya, Kakashi. Master of excuses wins again, he thought with a triumphant smile under his mask.
Later, at the mission's dispatch office. Team 7, we have a lost dog to be found in the forest near the village that belongs to the wife of a local daimyo. We have a contract for you to retrieve it. This is a Class D mission and as such you have no real danger or enemy against you unless you encounter bandits. If such is the case, withdraw immediately, the head office will investigate the matter accordingly. The 3rd handed the orders to Kakashi.
Oi, old man. Why can't we fight the bandits? Naruto, eager to prove himself, asked.
You are genin and on your first mission we can't ask of you to fight bandits who could be missing nins or spies. In this case it becomes a Class C or even B mission where you may get killed. Confrontation in this case must be avoided unless necessary. Understood Naruto? The Hokage explained the young ninja.
Let's go then, the faster this is over the faster we train.
Naruto exclaimed as though it was a prize to train all day. Even Sasuke almost groaned at his enthusiasm while Sakura looked absolutely horrified. In silence, they proceeded to the forest where the dog had last been seen. The mission was easy and very boring to Naruto who just thought about pounding some bandits. He had screamed the dog's name and the mud ran up to him as though it had hell on its heels but it was only a disappointing squirrel.
It was a satisfied Ranma who welcomed the team during a training session with Moegi and Ryoma. Back already? You probably had one of those low-class D-rank mission. The look of satisfaction in his face was all Sasuke needed to know what was coming. Sakura saw the look and shuddered at the thought. Too easy for my taste, I needed to train for that? Naruto asked only to receive a hit upon his skull.
Easy missions mean easy money. Also, you didn't put your life in danger or any of this crap. Just be thankful I'm not beating the crap out of you just out of principle. Naruto swallowed and shook off his mild annoyance.
Dear, it's time to eat dinner. Naruto, you should have called if you had friends over. Now I'll need to make some more food. Hikari scolded her son.
No need, auntie. My parents will be waiting for me. Sakura bowed politely and turned to leave. Nonsense. You're my son's teammates and as such it'll be our pleasure to have you all over for dinner, now no arguing. I'll call your mother and arrange it with her. As for you Sasuke, I believe you're on your own so I don't need to call anyone I assume. She said.
Hi. Sasuke stoically answered. Sakura-chan, how about you help me a little with the food? Hikari asked the kunoichi. Hi. Sakura followed the older woman to the kitchen leaving the men to themselves. I believe now is a good time to stop our session children. Both stopped their sparring and turned to the master. They bowed and ran to the bathtub. How about a soak in the furo you two, after a mission you're bound to be sweating. Ranma went under Naruto's arm and smelled only to find fresh air under there. Something must be wrong with my nose, weren't you supposed to look for a runaway mutt this morning? Yeah, in a forest full of bandits we're not supposed to fight. We got there only to find the mutt running from a squirrel, Naruto exclaimed. Clearly a waste of our time, it answered to its name. Sasuke stated with his usual tone of voice. Ranma pondered for a second and decided on his course of action. Alright, we're going to a little field trip in the forest this afternoon team and we're beating the crap out of as many bandits as we can. Both Sasuke and Naruto looked at Ranma with different thoughts in their heads. Great. We're off to a real battle. I hope there are some strong people there, was the thought on Naruto's mind. Is this some other test or another way of improving? This man may be the key to the power I seek to defeat him. Either way, it'll let me adjust to fighting with this suit on. The calmer and calculating mind of Sasuke thought. Naruto's grin and Sasuke's smirk told it all though. Leave one or two for Sakura though. She needs training far more than you two, Ranmi completed. Dinner ready. Hikari called and was answered by the stampede of her family attacking dinner. The fact that there were no leftovers bemused Sakura who tried to even understand how so much food could disappear so fast. Sasuke was the first one to see how it truly worked though. Naruto and Ranma were in a war to eat whatever the other had in his plate as well as their own. Nothing was spilled since either one seriously plucked the food out of thin air. Moegi and Ryoma were also trying their hand at it but were slower than the two grown-ups. He was content in observing this display until Naruto stole one of his dumplings. At this point, Sasuke joined the fray only to find out he was much slower with chopsticks than he previously thought. Even Ryoma took food from him. Don't worry about it Sasuke, you're just new to this. That's all. Ranma reassured the frustrated ninja. Also the first advanced taijutsu technique you'll learn from me is a speed technique. Naruto already knows it and I'll be damned if anyone trains as hard as he does in your year, even you can't compare. The foot-and-mouth syndrome may have lessened somewhat over the years but sometimes there were small accidents such as that one time. Sasuke clearly frowned at the man's words. From sunrise to sundown and sometimes even later Sasuke trained all the time. He had invented ways of training while sitting in class where Naruto was sleeping. Could it be he trained in his dreams or some unrealistic infernal machine? For one to have more training than Uchiha at any time in life was inconceivable. Yeah, I mean I train from 5 AM to 11 PM and then some more on my free time. Pops is a demon from the 7th circle of hell. He trains from 4 AM to 1 AM. Naruto stated. Sasuke's eyes bogged while Sakura looked for signs of fatigue. My chakra is tightened enough to let me go without sleep for days. Ranma answered the silent question while Hikari sighed disappointedly. So, since I have trouble sleeping most of the time I just train. Even I am not that sadistic about training and if Naruto trains only 3 hours less then, Sasuke thought. Don't even think about it Sasuke, all three of you specializes in a domain of chakra, you have your special abilities. Sakura has her control and Naruto simply has endurance. That's why he can push himself that hard at his age. You must remember that every journey is slow. At your age I wasn't even half as strong as you guys are. That was the slight phrase that Sasuke needed to hear to push him farther. If Ranma, a shinobi considered stronger than Itachi, had been weaker than him, who was he to complain? He was an avenger. A tool for justice and he just needed to be sharpened. If someone strong was to do that for him, he would just be even stronger, and he would then become stronger than the one to train him. The rest of dinner was quite silent except for the sound of the battle. Those kids were rather vicious when they tried to steal desserts. The only ones left untouched were Hikari and, mysteriously, Sakura. "Why didn't Moegi and Ryoma try to eat from my plate?" Sakura asked Naruto while the group was strolling in the forest. "Oh, that's because you helped make dinner, as such you were considered off limits as a food provider. That and they rather like you." The second part was just above a whisper. "What did you say?" she asked rather loudly. "Will you two stop your lover's spat? The bandits will hear us miles away," Sasuke growled. "No. Sasuke-kun now thinks of us as a couple. I'll need to kill Naruto." Inner Sakura screamed while the other one looked at her target. 2. "Kun." Her voice was just loud enough to be heard, but the dangerous tone, so obvious to everyone, completely passed Naruto. "What is it, Saku-chan?" He had just made her a nickname. He thought it was cute, but Sakura didn't. Ranma then saw a piece from his worst nightmares, the demon head attack and the mallet of doom. Both were thoroughly used to beat up his adoptive son into submission, at least up until a kunai was thrown right at the head of the mallet. The four of them then stopped what they were doing and formed a defensive circle. "How many?" Ranma asked his pupils. 10, 12, 4. The boys almost turned to Sakura, who had just said 4. "Very good, you were all correct. There were 10 then 12 then 4 opponents. The first 10 were the scouts, the 12 are the scouts with 2 messengers, and the 4 remaining are the strike team. They are rather well organized but lack real skills in the scouting department." The team took out their kunai while Ranma put his hands in his pockets, nothing to do yet. The hiding thieves were the first to move out of hiding. Pitted against a group of relatively young ninjas, they were rather overconfident, but they paid the price for it. Their strategy was the right one. Get the weakest and then move up from there, but from their short observation of the group, the weakest member had to be the blonde boy. It was rather plain and simple at first, but when they were about to strike with various weapons, they froze in place just by seeing his smile. Naruto seized the spear his chosen opponent had tried to attack with and tossed him away with his momentum. He then moved to fight him. The others now saw the slightly bad position they were in. Those may very well be Anbu in disguise. They did a quick prayer and went into battle. One rather short bandit wielding a pair of sei went after Sasuke while the other one attacked Sakura with his bow staff. The last one tried desperately to beat Ranma with a pair of katanas. His failure was immediate and Ranma sat down to observe the rest of the battle. No need to interfere unless they get endangered, he thought, just as Naruto used his most stupid technique Ranma ever knew. Hengen. Harem no Jutsu. He screamed as a multitude of clones of himself transformed into a multitude of naked females. Ranma was unaffected since his former curse had taken the dirty part of the male PSH and beat it down into a rather small space of his mind. The enemies weren't that lucky though and almost fainted from their nosebleed. Just in time as well, since Sakura was rather hard-pressed from her own efforts to lift her limbs. It gave her just enough time to build a momentum and smash her wristband over his head, causing him to faint. Sasuke simply punched him on the forehead, causing the bandit to fall over, while Naruto finished him off with a well-placed kick in the stomach. 2. Whatever gave you the idea for such a just you? Have you ever heard of feminine modesty? Sakura was back in her bash Naruto mode, and unless it had a good explanation, he wasn't going to live for long anyway. Modesty? Isn't that when you don't brag? I mean, how should I know? I'm a male, not a female. Naruto argued, thus sealing his fate. Sakura had her blunt instrument in hand and smashed Naruto over the head a dozen of times just for good measure. That, he had coming at him, Sasuke remarked with a very small smile. You can say that again. Oh well, let's tie those 3 up and take them back to the village. We'll come back hunting tomorrow. Ranma was rather hyper for someone who had just been to battle, and so did Naruto. Sasuke couldn't keep the smile off his face at the moment. He was enjoying this experience, and combat was the best training field, he believed. Only Sakura looked bewildered, even if she was smiling herself without knowing why. Thus passed the first week of training. Nothing really big as missions. Just your usual rank D crap like babysitting and pest control. The good part was that they had the missions most likely to turn towards rank C thanks to their daily patrol in the forest. It was exactly 1 week later that they got their harder mission. Team 7, let's see, we have crops too. The Hokage was about to tell the rest of the parameters when Naruto interrupted. When are we going to get a real mission, old man? All we ever do is crap, he screamed in indignation. Yeah. I'm tired of getting funky assignments. Inner Sakura screamed while the outer glared at Naruto. No matter, missions are missions. Sasuke thought with an afterthought about how Naruto was right. Naruto. You know very well those missions are to build the skills you'll need as Chunin and Junin. Iruka exclaimed from his seat besides the third Hokage who stopped him from a longer tirade. I believe Naruto may be right, Iruka, he stated while looking over a folder. Finally, I was getting bored, Kakashi thought as the Hokage handed him the form for a rank C mission. You have to escort and protect an individual from danger as you travel to the Wave Country and stay until his job is done. You can come in, Mr. Dazuna. At these words a gruffy old man came in through the door. So, these kids will take me home? You sure about that? He looked skeptical. Yes, quite, you'll leave this afternoon I presume. Don't worry, these genin are about as good as you can get, Dazuna-san. The Hokage remarked as the man sighed in relative defeat. We're leaving at 1,300 hours, you have until then to gather some stuff necessary for travel as well as weapons and tools. We'll meet at the front gate. Kakashi proceeded to vanish to prepare himself. I'm going home to prepare. I bet Pops will have extra training just for the trip. Naruto looked extremely overjoyed with that piece of news as he bounded next to Sakura. Hey, Sakura-chan. How about I escort you home? He asked. This only earned him a slap. I haven't forgotten about your little stunt in the Forest of Death, Naruto, and I believe a lot of other people would like to see you as a girl. Especially your mother. She threatened just as he blanched visibly. The last time his mother had seen this particular skill she had grounded him for a week and made his father double his training. Even Naruto had his limit and that was it. Mercy. Anything but that, he pleaded to the young woman. Sakura smiled, she rather liked it when men groveled at her feet. Even if it was only Naruto, she considered herself quite high and mighty at that moment. Alright Naruto, just don't use that skill anymore, it's an insult to women all over Konohagore, she exclaimed. Naruto was immediately grinning like a madman and up from his kneeling position.
Thanks Sakura-chan, I swear never to use it again. It's pretty much useless anyway. He declared. As long as I tell Konohamaru never to use it in front of people I'll survive. He thought just as he remembered the young ninja had begged him to teach him one of his ultra-secret jutsus and Naruto had taught him the harmless replication technique.
Sasuke-kun. I'll walk with you, Sakura told in her charming voice to the other genin. I don't care, was his only reply. Hey, wait for me Sakura-chan, Naruto screamed to his companions.
What makes you think this dysfunctional group can get me anywhere? Tazuna asked Iruka when the group was out of sight.
You have all the number ones of the village youth. Sasuke is a genius and the first ninja of his year. Sakura is the smartest of her year and Naruto is the most energetic ninja in the village, Iruka explained. Energetic? More like hyperactive if you ask me, the man exclaimed. I suppose I can't be picky, can I? He shook his head as he left. Naruto was back home and having a talk with his family. We have a rank C mission, he exclaimed just as he took off his shoes to put on his slippers. Good for you, son. What kind? Bandit hunting. Can I join you? Ranma asked. The world was relatively calm and the Anbu didn't need him that much. Maybe he could get a kick out of beating bandits out. Nah, just escorting an old guy to the Wave Country and protect him until his bridge is completed, he explained. Ranma frowned slightly though.
Wave Country, son, you better listen to me on this. Tell your teammates to use the modified weight suits I'll give you before you all leave. The place got dangerous since a fellow called Gaidu took control of the incoming products. That bridge is a nuisance to him and I heard between the branches that he has some missing nin under contract. Ranma looked at his now serious son.
Do you know how many they have? He asked hopeful. Ranma only shook his head and motioned for Naruto to follow him to the dojo. Son, you'll have to keep your teammates up to date in their training while you travel. No extra weights on mission, you never know when an attack will come and it would endanger them. I want you to teach them a technique though. Ranma closed his eyes as though he was considering something very important. Naruto, my son, from this point on you are no longer a student of the Saotome Masabetsu Kakuto Ryu.
Ranma exclaimed. Naruto was about to protest but Ranma cut him to the chase.
From this point on, you are no longer a student but an assistant teacher. You shall impart your knowledge on your students as though it was me who did so. You will have a limited teaching license and teach only what you can.
Your training is not over yet and you may not yet be called as sensei but you are the senpai of the class and by being so are obligated to learn with the others as you help them progress. Those are heavy responsibilities and you may judge yourself not ready for them and as such you may refuse. Ranma looked at his flabberstag son who immediately answered him.
I accept the responsibilities and consider them an honor bestowed upon me. The answer was solid and Ranma nodded. He took a paper out of his pocket and presented it to Naruto along with a dan for his belt.
You are a second dan master of anything goes now with an assistant teaching license. Ranma announced. They rose and then saluted each other before turning to the shrine of the dojo and bow once again. Let's go, celebrator. They then proceeded back to the house.
Hey mom. Guess what? Pops gave me a teaching license. I'm also going on a mission to the Wave Country. Hikari looked sternly towards her husband at those words. Ranma, I thought Naruto was too young to teach yet, she said. But you told me he was growing up, so I just took your judgment to heart, Ranma argued. When she had told him that Naruto was getting older, she had meant that he was getting into his teens, not that he was ready to teach. I didn't mean it that way, dear. I meant he was getting into a young man, not an adult. She looked pointedly at him just as it dawned on him that he had made a slight mistake. He decided to shrug it off after a second. It was going to happen anyway sooner or later. Naruto is a genius of the school of anything goes after all. Ranma argued. I'll give him the speech before he leaves, dear. Hikari looked rather satisfied with that and went to prepare a celebratory meal.
At her house, Sakura was getting a full-length lecture on what to do and not to do around boys, which meant don't get near either of them. If they try anything, clobber them, and, most important of all, don't forget your mallet. Her mother was quite strict about that one.
I know, Mom. It's not like Naruto would dare touch me, while Sasuke is just not that style of man. I'm going to be all right, she exclaimed. I know that, dear, but you're still my daughter and it's hard to see you grow up, her mother said. Yeah, you're right. I'm a grown-up. Inner Sakura screamed while lifting a psychological mallet.
You'll understand all that when you have children of your own, dear, but I worry all the time about you and it's quite difficult to see you get to adulthood. Her mother hugged Sakura at that moment. They were sitting on her bed and it was one of those mother-daughter moments. Sakura hugged her mother back. Mom, you know what? Sakura started. I'm kind of scared. Both Sasuke and even Naruto are stronger than me by several times. While I'm quite smart, that alone won't save me in a dangerous situation, and even as I get stronger from training, they get 2 or 3 times better. What can I do? She asked her mother while Inner Sakura was weeping. You do with what you have, dear. They have bronze and a brain between the two of them, but you have one brain by yourself.
Thus you may be stronger than the both of them in certain situations, dear. However, all 3 of you put together should be invincible. That's why the 3-men team system exists for Genin. You complement one another and, by doing so, learn from the others. It's the basis of teamwork. With time you'll get to their level. Even if you aren't as strong, you will still have an above average level and will probably surpass them if you play your cards right. Her mother assured her. This was part of being a mother. Her daughter now seemed more willing and determined to go out there. A sad but necessary truth. It's almost time to leave. I'm ready to go. Tell Dad I'll miss him. I love you, Mom. Sakura said as she got up, took her pack and left the house. Goodbye, Sa-chan. Her mother softly said when the door closed, using the nickname she and her husband had given to their baby girl. A single teardrop fell from her eye. As for Sasuke, well, there's nothing to say really, except he gathered his stock and went off OT the meeting point. At 12:45, the integrity of Team 7 and Ranma was there. Kakashi was missing though. All right. Ranma called to his students. From this point on, Naruto will be your teacher until you come back. He has the theory for your first technique and the basic training plan. It's quite light, but you have to follow the instructions perfectly. Ranma announced to the other 2. Why would I learn from Naruto? Sasuke asked. Because I'm a certified sensei, and that if you want to continue your training when we get back, you'll listen to my father, Naruto stated. Do we have to call you Naruto sensei or something then? Sakura asked with a bit of dislike. Never, I'll call him Naruto-chan before I call him sensei. Inner Sakura screamed in outrage. I'm still on probation as an assistant, so I'm just your senpai, but you still have to obey the regimen. Nothing too stupid anyway, Naruto answered. Ranma then produced 2 weight vests of another design. These are a new model I made while you were training, while I had someone to make them. They have a button on the left wrist that lets every weight fall off. If you're in a bad spot, use it. No way increase, even on your own, and absolutely no foolish tries to surpass yourselves. Ranma recommended, especially for Sasuke who liked to add more weight than Ranma recommended. This life or death and not training. Ranma proceed. 5 minutes before they left, Tazuna-san was there, but still no sign of Kakashi. Oh. Where's my bodyguard? These kids make good human shields, but they can't compare to an adult, Tazuna asked. Oi, Jii-san. Kakashi-sensei is good, but I'm the best. I'll be the Hokage someday. My name is Saotome Naruto. He exclaimed his usual introduction only to have Tazuna laugh at him. Bawahahahaha. They gave me the super clown of the village. Naruto blurred and disappeared. Did he go pout somewhere? Tazuna asked, only to feel something poking his back. This is a wooden kunai. I could have killed you from anywhere without you noticing. I can also do this. Naruto threw the kunai at a nearby wall where it embedded itself between two bricks. Never insult my skills, old man. I train very seriously. Naruto went back towards Sakura. Now where is Kakashi-sensei? He's always late when it comes to meetings like these, Naruto muttered. Just as he said that, the aforementioned Junin appeared in a cloud of smoke.
The afternoon was quite advanced when the small group made a halt. The ninjas were nowhere near exhaustion, in fact this seemed like a breeze to them compared to their training regimen. Kakashi's salvation came from his experience. Had it been Kurenai, the youngest teaching Junin, she would have been down on all four trying to catch up to the group. Tazuna with his normal endurance and stamina was quite a burden for the eager youth. Unknown to the group, two pairs of eyes were watching.
Quite an easy job, let's just go on ahead and lay our trap, the first one told the second. Yes, we'll take out the adult by surprise and the others will just fall down like mosquitoes, replied the second. They dashed through the vegetation almost completely unheard. So we're being followed, Sakura remarked. What do you mean? Tazuna asked. Two guys in weird costumes, probably bandits or missing nins, there were some reports of them around in these parts. Naruto said just as he finished Ikeda with Sasuke.
Unless, Kakashi thought to himself, I'll just have to wait and see. He concluded just as he stretched to relieve his back.
Well now, let's get going people, we may want to avoid traps from those two, Kakashi said. Sasuke, who had been silent this whole time, simply got up and rejoined formation with Sakura and Naruto first, himself behind Tazuna and Kakashi as the rearguard.
It was 5 minutes later that they spotted the puddles of water and their followers. The second Kakashi stepped between the puddles of water, they moved and slaughtered him, then moving to the fear-stricken Naruto who was just as easily torn to shreds. They then skewered Tazuna going through Sasuke and Sakura as though they didn't even exist.
That was easy. Deadpanned the first one. Yeah, I thought we could have some fun, commented the other one. They started looking through the bodies to find some secrets. Do you think we should knock them out or something? Naruto asked from his lookout in a tree.
Well, we could ask them a few questions. Kakashi answered. Sakura was holding up a genjutsu and sweat was starting to pearl upon her forehead.
I'll do it. Sasuke commented as he blurred to hit the pressure point hidden on their neck. With the genjutsu released and the missing nins quite immobilized, the team had all their time to ask questions. So, why did you try to kill us? You're not bandits. They usually try to get it done in an easy fashion, the hold-up type. Kakashi asked. Sensei, they may be missing nins from Kiri no Kuni from their headbands, or they were hired to assassinate Tazuna-san. Sakura summarized the possibilities. How do we get it out of them? The usual perhaps, Sasuke asked towards Naruto. Well, maybe we could try something special this time. You know Sakura, you were talking about using it on me to make sure I'd talk about you know what. The wink didn't go unnoticed and Sakura immediately though about all the tortures she would have inflicted on Naruto after his stunt with the harem no jutsu.
They entailed several sharp objects going somewhere the sun doesn't shine. She blushed a little and then inner Sakura found her way outside for a second. That alone could have scared even Sasuke witless, but with the obvious threat of a very obscene torture it was enough for the ninjas to wet their pants with fear. The fact that Naruto took out a wicked-looking tool from his backpack simply made them green.
Put that back. We'll talk. The first one was crying as he broke down and told them everything he knew. So, you were sent by your village to assassinate Tazuna-san? Sakura asked.
Yes, we are Chunins, only the two of us for now. They may send reinforcements. Kakashi touched another point on their necks and sent them into unconsciousness.
This changes everything. Kakashi started. This changes nothing. We still have to get Tazuna-san to the Wave Country, Naruto said. This was supposed to be a grade C mission, just an escorting mission if you will, but now it looks like a grade B or even A, reserved for Junins not Genins. Kakashi argumented. It's nothing, our mission just became harder, none of us even has a scratch. If there was someone hurt it would be different matter entirely. The injured teammate would only slow the others down, Sasuke stated. We may be in danger but we are shinobis, it's our life to live dangerously, Sakura stated.
Kakashi, I think you should talk with me a second. Tazuna then proceeded to talk to the sensei. You see, the Wave Country is quite poor, even the local daimyo is in deep S***T, so I'm not really well off either. The one we're up against isn't just a little local bandit. You must have heard of him, his name is Gato.
The Gato, one of the richest men in the world? Kakashi asked. The nod from the old man told it all. His money came from drug deals and extortion, he makes the law in the Wave Country. He has a private army of mercs and ninjas at his beck and call. Those two must be from his army or at his disposal, he concluded. The kids have decided already, so there's no need to think about turning back. The three of them against me would leave me quite dead, believe me, so I'll just follow and try to keep them out of trouble.
The teacher stated as he looked at his three pupils. Sakura was trying to choke Naruto while straddling his waist. Sasuke looked somewhat amused and Naruto was smiling because of the position they were in. We'll make camp here. As long as those two are under our custody, they'll think it's normal and won't send anyone after us. Team. Make camp. The three genins looked at their teacher and went dispatched their order of jobs.
Okay. One of us had to make a fire, another find water and the last find wood, Naruto stated. I'll make the fire, Sasuke stated as he got up and gathered some surrounding wood to start his fire. I'll get the wood, called Naruto, leaving Sakura to get the water. When the children were gone, Kakashi sat at the base of a nearby tree and took out his book.
What are you reading? Tazuna asked. Icha Paradise Volume 3. The copy ninja answered.
May I see that? Kakashi threw him the first volume and both adults started reading the naughty books eagerly.
Naruto walked a little bit into the woods and found himself a dead tree. With one mighty kick, the dead and dry wood broke and fell. The blonde took the tree by the roots and started pulling it back to the camp. Meanwhile, Sasuke was building his shrouding wood into a form so the fire wouldn't be taken out by the winds when Naruto dragged wood into the place. Naruto, does gathering firewood include cutting whole trees? Sasuke asked sarcastically. Yep, it does when you really want to get enough for a long while. I'm leaving this to you while I get some food. Fish all right with you? He asked the taciturn boy.
Whatever. Sasuke answered the blonde, who took off into the nature. Sakura was at the stream. The water was cool and just deep enough for a dip. What can it hurt? I'm a girl. I need my bath to maintain my beauty, she reasoned. She shed her clothes and jumped in the water to wash herself. A little bit upstream, Naruto was in his boxers, fishing their diner with his bare hands. Normally this was quite impossible, but his father had taught him quite well since he could do so just fine. It was then that he saw the biggest, tastiest and liveliest trout ever. He waited to make his move until the fish was just a little bit in front of him. He then moved in hot pursuit, swimming after the trout downstream as fast as he could. Sakura saw the fish coming and a pale pink blur catch up to it. Said blur caught the fish and surfaced only to throw it on the ground right next to her clothes. She looked at the blur, getting quite an eyeful of its muscular chest. Must be Sasuke. What should I do? What should I do? Sakura asked herself while the inner Sakura remained rather silent on this matter. Woo, what a catch. Saw Sakura-chan. Naruto was confronted with something he had never seen. A naked young woman. His eyes bulged out of their holes as he remembered his father's words. If you ever step in on a woman taking a bath or the opposite, you'll probably be the one to be considered a pervert. Naruto did his prayers and awaited his punishment. Sakura heard the voice, she recognized it and looked up. The swimmer to barge in on her wasn't Sasuke. Sasuke was the only one to have the right to see her like that. Naruto was unworthy of such honor, but she was willing to listen to his argument just this once. Naruto, I hope you have a good explanation for this. Now turn around, you pervert. The blonde listened to the orders given by Sakura. She was probably going to give him the 1,000 years of pain. Sakura got out of the stream while Naruto faced the other way and got dressed. Explain now, Naruto. She had a frown and an aura that could rival his mother, and Naruto was in no hurry to experience pain in that extent. See, I upstream and I followed our dinner and kinda ended up here, and you know the rest. Please don't kill me, I'm too young to die, I'm sorry, although whatever you want, but don't kill me. Mercy. The words about doing whatever she wanted him to do was just too good to pass. Anything, huh? The look of pure evil she had on her face made Naruto take a step back. Well then, servant, you have to carry my stuff and make me food and take the water back as well. Naruto had to wonder if living was worthwhile. I can do most of that, but you have to carry your stuff or Ranma-sensei will have both of our skins through extra training. That made Sakura regress on that one particular point. Training was fine normally, but extra was just evil. Naruto still had to make it back to camp carrying his entire catch along with the water while Sakura skipped along. Naruto, I know your father had this weird conception of normal behavior with women, but this is plain machoism. Kakashi was looking at his student carrying that much weight. That baka just went and insisted to carry all my share of the work, pleaded Sakura, not mentioning the part with blackmail. Couldn't let a lady do the dirty work. Naruto supported as he set the water next to the fire. Sasuke was already seated next to it and looked at the blonde struggling with the biggest fish to fix it to a stick for it to roast over the fire. Why did you bring that much fish, Naruto? Sasuke asked. Much? I should have taken 2 or 3 more just in case. I mean, this whooper isn't enough for me, Naruto exclaimed. Oi, Naruto. Don't forget mine. Sakura reminded her servant, who didn't grumble at all. Make mine while you're at it, deadpanned Sasuke. Make it yourself. Naruto shot back. Naruto, make Sasuke's dinner. Naruto grumbled but did as told.
I have power BWAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHA. Inner Sakura was having a field day with Naruto under her orders until the end of the mission. I can make him do whatever I want. Well, almost. He won't get me a date with Sasuke, but I could get one from if. Oi, Naruto, make mine and Tazuna-san's as well. Kakashi called as he and Tazuna continued to read. What, man, I'm everybody's maid now, Naruto grumbled as he started on his workload. He struggled with the preparations for a small while but was good enough with a knife to separate the meat from the guts. Once he had them roasting, he took out 2 bags of CHEast nuts from his backpack.
Sakura. Sasuke, time to see what you're going to learn. Naruto called. Kakashi lifted an eyebrow and observed Naruto. Aren't you the one supposed to teach them? Tazuna asked the Junin. Naruto is licensed in his family school of martial arts. He's gonna do fine, he answered as he looked anyway. Why use chestnuts to teach a technique? This is called the Kachu Tenshin Amagorikan. Observe. I put the chestnuts in the fire and wait for them to be ready. Naruto commented. This is some kind of joke. A cooking course. Sasuke said as he turned away. Naruto held a chestnut to him before he could go too far. Hey Sasuke. Want one? He asked his rival. Sakura, who was still looking at him, was wide-eyed. You took it out with your bare hands? She asked him. Sasuke turned back to him as his arms blurred and took hold of the remaining nuts in the blazing fire. Yep, it's merely a speed technique. You have to be faster than the eye can see and get them before the heat gets to you. We'll start after supper and continue tomorrow after we take care of your burns. Naruto explained the training and had a shark-like look. He took hold of one of the fishes and threw it towards Kakashi, who caught it and turned his back to the team and their charge to eat. He then gave a fish to Sasuke and a larger one to Sakura before he took a piece of his own whooper. There were no attacks on the food during the missions because they would possibly need all their strengths, but training was still necessary. The meal was completely consumed by the 3 genins and they were sitting in front of the fire. The trick here is chakra control. Naruto explained the fondaments of the technique. By pushing chakra into your arms and hands, you can increase either the strength, the speed, or both with enough training. We'll be focusing on speed since strength is rather easy. Before you begin, I may have an exercise to help with that. Kakashi intervened. Naruto looked at him as he turned to the nearest tree and climbed it. For this you have to control and focus your chakra on the sole of your feet. It's one of the most complicated parts to do so. Nice, but with our vests it's hard to stand that way. The exercises are actually similar, Kakashi-sensei. The difference is that we are trying to have a practical application. Now take off your vests, the weights would just hinder you at the moment. We'll work on both exercises. He looked at Kakashi again. I suppose you want us to start by running? Naruto asked his teacher. That's the normal way to do this, Kakashi remarked. Naruto slipped out of his vest and went to the tree. He paused 1 foot on its base and concentrated a second. He then started ascending the trunk slowly himself. I think running gives you an advantage, yes, but why rush into things? Just go slowly and you'll get it faster. Or is it the other way around? Naruto was pondering from his horizontal position. He then shrugged and motioned for his teammates to come closer. First of all, concentrate your chakra slowly into the sole of your feet until it draws in the trunk, he instructed. Sasuke put in too much power too fast and the wood broke under his feet. Damn, he exclaimed. You're too eager, Sasuke. Do this slowly and carefully. Just like Sakura does. He was looking at her foot already clinging to the wood. Take a step forward, Sakura, and do the same thing with your other foot. Whaaa. She lost her balance, but Naruto caught her before she could crash on him. Just concentrate, Sakura-chan, you're doing just fine. He encouraged her as Sasuke took his standing position on the trunk. The balance was rather awkward in this position, but it was rather easy to guess how it could be used. He took 2 steps before he tumbled to the hard ground below. He recovered in time and started again. That kind of things happens. You got the hang of it, Sakura. Naruto told his pupils. Sakura was already upside down on a branch. She had walked there without problems. You're doing fine as well, Sasuke. Sakura just has a lot of control.
Even better than mine, I'll bet. That part was plain flattery. He wanted out of his little servitude thing as fast as possible.
Flattery will get you nowhere. Sakura called to him. He's saying I'm even better than Sasuke. He'll never like me now. Inner Sakura swore in quite a foul language profusely. No, but it'll get you to the real training. Naruto now had the same maniacal gleam his father always had when he was about to teach someone extensively. Sakura fought back a groan of defeat and dropped from her perch. Sasuke was now halfway to the branch and progressing. It's amazing how he was able to perfect this training method in a few words. Kakashi thought. He may very well make it to Hokage sooner than even Yondaime-sama did. The thought was a bit disturbing. He had no doubt his group would pass the coming Chunin exam with flying colors and start working separately.
He surprised himself thinking of the three Senins. They were similar in many ways. Sasuke wanted power, Naruto respect, and Sakura was simply there to prove herself. Kakashi thought of all the similarities. Next thing I'll know they'll try to make me the Hokage. He finalized his thought and turned 3D to the now missing prisoners. He smiled a bit. Their escape had been easy to frame and their leader would be coming to take care of business. Maybe he'd get a good fight and a couple of techniques.
Sakura stared hard at the flaming barrier and focused her chakra into her arms. She then punched the air in front of her repetitively to get a feel of how to properly focus it. She failed 3 times and turned to Naruto. Are you sure there's no in-game to this technique? She asked him. He nodded as he punched the air as well. A bit faster than she did, but not by much. Dad said you would get it faster because a girl's frame is better built for speed, while Sasuke would take a while if he overdid it too much. I don't expect you to get it tonight, but to at least try.
I have a bomb for your burns. I doubt Sasuke will need it since he uses Kaden Jutsu so much, but if he does, I'll give it to him. Now try it, Sakura-chan, get the nuts from the fire. He instructed. She closed her eyes and executed the technique without flaw. However, to actually grab chestnuts you need to see them, and she touched the red-hot coals of the fire. She let out a howl of pain and Naruto pulled her out. We need to put cold water on these. Hold on to my shirt. Naruto had to prevent her from closing her fists, and the shirt was the best place. He then took off at full speed towards the pond where she had been bathing, grabbing his medicinal pack on the way. Sasuke and Kakashi were coming near the fire when he jumped to the nearest branch with Sakura in his arms. The run was short and he didn't hesitate to jump into the waters as fast as possible. The coals of a fire were often hotter than the fire itself, and such burns needed extra cleaning.
Naruto, you moron! Sakura screamed at him. This training is too radical.
Not that radical, Sakura-chan. You actually did it on your first try. You just grabbed the coals instead of the nuts. He said this seriously as he let her hold his shirt. She now did so by reflex. He took out a pot of green goo and after putting her hands in the water, he then gently rubbed the balm on the palm of her hand. There, you feel better. She nodded. She could almost feel the burns closing. I just hope it doesn't leave a scar, Naruto, or I'll have your head. She growled. Carry me back to camp, servant. She wasn't feeling like walking at all. Naruto didn't complain. Why would he anyway? She wanted to be carried by him. It was as close as he'd gotten to a hug from someone outside his family. He took her in a groomsman hold and strolled towards the camp. She was quite light without the heavy training vest on, and she adjusted to his hold instantly to make herself more comfortable.
Yes, Mom. Naruto saluted her as he started forward.
I did mean a piggyback ride. Sakura thought. Yeah, but this way's more comfortable, and I get to touch those muscles I saw earlier. She argued. This wasn't the inner Sakura who was screaming her head off in the background because Naruto was touching her. It was simply the voice, something else. There should only be Sasuke for me. But why is this so? Single quote. Naruto looked at Sakura. She had closed her eyes and had just sighed in comfort or pleasure. This was going way beyond his expertise of human relationship. Normally people just either ignored him or insulted him. When you didn't count his family, Iruka-sensei and the boss of Ichiraku. Those were about the only people not acting special in his presence. And that included Sakura, but she had just sighed in. Could it be content? What the heck was wrong with the world?
Sakura, Dejobu Dezuka? He asked her. She opened her eyes and looked into his. Inner Sakura had stopped her tirade about Naruto, and Sakura was mesmerized by his clear blue eyes. Dejobu Naruto. She whispered. She was rather confused at the moment, and he was making it worse.
You can let me down now. She told him. She didn't squirm to get out of his grasp. I wouldn't want Sasuke to get the wrong idea. His face literally dropped as he released her to the ground. They then walked to the camp and found Sasuke trying to get the chestnuts from the fire and failing miserably. He didn't scream in pain because of the previous training in fire manipulation, but it was apparent that it hurt even slightly.
Oi, Kakashi-sensei. When he gets it or when he actually realizes this takes time, rub this into the palm of his hands. It's rather effective. Alright, Naruto. Our prisoners escaped. He was smiling under his mask. They'll be back with their boss, or maybe the boss alone. Naruto was smiling at the possible challenge.
Yes, get a lot of rest. Sasuke volunteered for first watch, you have second and Sakura third. I'll take the first next time. Sasuke stopped his training at once to get to his job of keeping the camp safe. Later that night, Naruto was stripping a twig during his watch. The fire was still burning as he looked at the moon. Sakura-chan will kill me when I wake her. He thought as time passed with few incidents. 3 hours later, the sun was almost up when he decided to actually wake his teammate. He approached her silently and bent down to wake her.
Sakura. Sakura, he was whispering, but all it achieved was to get her to turn around. Sakura, he said louder. Kakashi twitched and he had no intention of getting into trouble. He started shaking her, gently at first but with more strength later. Sakura was getting shaken, she could feel it and she knew, on the conscious level, that she had to take a guard duty, but her subconscious wasn't aware of that, only that someone was near her and trying to get her up. Her dreams had already been confusing enough. She was running after someone who she assumed was Sasuke, but she always ended up kissing Naruto.
This greatly set her off, and when the first thing she saw as she woke up was the source of her concerns, she lashed out at him with a devastating punch. Once the contact with his flesh and his unwanted flight ended, Sakura's consciousness took control and forgot all about dreams. All that remained were destructive thoughts of Naruto and her duty as guard, which overrode the first things to do since Naruto was now asleep thanks to her.
Those weights actually work, she exclaimed as she dressed herself with the jacket.
She then proceeded to be bored. She was on the last guard duty and as such was up 2 hours earlier than her comrades. She did some mental problems, looked at Sasuke, stared at the fire and not at Naruto sprawled on the ground with a fist imprinted on his cheek and a bump on his head. She then decided to look at her hands. The bomb had made wonders. There were no more blisters there and it didn't feel that tender. It was right then that she felt a presence near them. Near Tazuna to be precise. Who's there? Identify yourself, she yelled. Her teammates except Naruto woke up and took their fighting positions. Sasuke had been wearing his vest as he slept and it showed in his movements. Kakashi was on the lookout immediately. Naruto was down from Sakura's fist of fury and he was the only Junin for this high-level mission. Geto was likely to have hired high-level ninja for this assassination.
To have spotted me so fast, you're not the ordinary ninjas, are you? A voice sounded from everywhere. The three took defensive positions. There wasn't much that could actually hurt Naruto anyway.
They're stupid too, they took out one of their own. A second voice sounded. Sasuke detected a movement and blocked a kunai directed for their charge, who was now awake and standing in the center of this tight circle of protection. Mist began to cover the field of battle and Kakashi warned his students. Hit the dirt. The order was followed immediately. Sakura jumped to the ground while Sasuke tackled Tazuna. Kakashi was crouched and turned to his opponent. Momochi Zabusa, Kuri no Kuni's missing nin. He had the immediate identity of his enemy from his files as a Junin.
Sharingan Kakashi, no wonder the brothers never had a chance. Zabusa thought from his perch on his sword. You too, he has friends in these woods. Protect Tazuna. I'll take care of him. Kakashi instructed his students. He could only hope Naruto would wake up.
Sharingan Kakashi, give us the old man and we'll spare your men. Zabusa told him. Or rather children. They don't look fit to be ninjas. He leered. Those words made Naruto twitch and he opened an eye but remained laying on the ground. Sasuke and Kakashi saw it, but Zabusa had no possibility to do so while Sakura had her back turned to him.
Sharingan? Sasuke asked himself. He looked at his teacher. How can it be? He asked silently. Don't interfere in this battle. Protect Tazuna, you too. Zabusa, if you want Tazuna. He lifted his headband and revealed his three-branched Sharingan. Come and get him. I'm flattered. The Sharingan already. I had a small book when I was on the Ambu of Kiri no Kuni. It said that you had copied a 1000 techniques. But it seems I'll have to get rid of you. Zabusa jumped to the water and floated on its surface. How does he do that? Sakura asked as she saw him stand on the water. Ninpo. Kirigakure no Jutsu. He called for his concealing technique and disappeared.
He disappeared. It was Tazuna who talked. Don't worry, I'll be his first target. Zabusa was considered one of the best in silent assassinations. I don't control the Sharingan perfectly, so be careful. He instructed and then he made a seal with his hands.
8 possibilities: the head, the neck, the heart, the back, the jugular, the larynx, the windpipe and the vertebra. Zabuza tried to play with their nerves. I feel so heavy, sluggish even. Is it the weights? I'm quite weaker than Naruto or Sasuke. I'm easy picking here, Sakura thought.
The air feels so heavy, the tension here is so thick. Why did that annoying moron have to faint now of all times? Sasuke was sweating as well when Kakashi turned to him.
Don't worry Sasuke, don't let my teammates die.
We'll see about that. Zabuza was in the little circle of protection. He pushed Sakura and kicked Sasuke. He turned to hit Tasuna but was stabbed by Kakashi in the back. The wound let water drop to the ground as the water clone vanished to let place to another Zabuza who hit Kakashi. The attacks turned violent until Zabuza, the real one, kicked Kakashi in the water.
Why is this water so heavy? He thought as Zabuza jumped next to him. You're within my jutsu. Sweden. Suiru no jutsu. Kakashi was trapped within a ball of water. Kakashi was looking at him. The mist had cleared a bit and you could see quite well his pupils and their charge. Very nice, he's going to get the drop on him, unless you can come out and take care of them. Haku, Sonia, Kohaku. 3 children dropped from the trees. 2 boys and a girl. One of them wore the mask of a hunter nin and the other 2 had the headbands from Kuri no Kuni. Take them out, he ordered. The girl, Sonia, looked quite happy with this decision. I'll take the girl, you can get the boy Kohaku. I'm sure Haku wants the old man, she said as she stalked forward. Sakura, let the weights go, a voice sounded through the mist.
An orange blur burst forth and tackled Kohaku. Naruto had just come and saved the day. 2 more Narutos burst forth and charged Zabuza who summoned his own water clones to counter the onslaught of shadow clones. They were batted back as one clone gave a tool to Sasuke. Sakura released the weights to the ground and burst forth as well to meet her opponent while a wall of shadow clones were protecting Tasuna with their bodies giving the ninjas a good opportunity to attack.
Sasuke took the tool in hand and unfolded it. Fuma Shuriken. Kage Fucha. He jumped to the air and threw the weapon to Zabuza who caught the projectile and dodged the one in its shadow. Meanwhile, Sakura was trying to control herself. With the released weights she was faster, lighter and quite stronger. The changes threw her off balance but she was too fast for her opponent to hit solidly.
That's it. The girl screamed as she made some seals. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu. The water clones overwhelmed Sakura who got a few bruises and cuts until she pushed them back and called for her own special technique. Feeding Charka to her arms, she called the attack Naruto had taught her the day prior. Kachu Tenshin Amagirikan. A fury of punches flew towards her opponent who stepped back from the onslaught until a light slap touched her. After that first contact, hundreds of punches rained upon the girl who had to flee. The use of so much Charka took its toll on Sakura who put her back to a tree.
Sasuke was descending from his jump when he was met by Kohaku. They started a mid-air battle for dominance. Both traded kicks and punches at great speed. Sasuke's opponent turned up the beat when he called the first jutsu.
Raiden. Raken no Jutsu. His fist charged with electricity as he punched towards Sasuke. He saw the punch approaching slowly. The world had suddenly slowed down. He saw the fist passing his head just slightly just as he began to understand. The world resumed normal speed just as he punched his enemy towards the trees. Just as Zabuza was jumping over the giant shuriken, it transformed into a spinning Naruto who took hold off the man's ankles to yank him down. He pushed himself up and touched 2 pressure points hidden under the shoulder blades as he passed them. He then took hold of his shoulders and threw him to the shore at the feet of a surprised Haku. Naruto landed unsteadily on the surface of the water and released his shadow clones. He was trying to emulate what Kakashi had been doing but was unsteady on the slippery surface. Haku knew what had happened and took hold of his commander. We'll retreat for now. He disappeared in a swirl of mist. Once it was clear the enemy was gone, Naruto and Kakashi returned to the beach where they fainted dead away with few words. Used too much chakra, they said in unison. The end. Thanks for watching. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.